Om. Good evening, everyone. We will do the Shanti Mantra and a small meditation like we did in the last class. And we get into the discussion. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. As a way to get our body and the mind ready and the attitude ready for the class, let us sit straight. It is all right to support your back, but do not support your head. If the posture can be as straight as possible, will be good. Straight and comfortable posture. Straight body, neck and head in a straight vertical line. Steady and reasonably comfortable. Which means there is no any pain in any part of the body. No pain in your ankles or knees or hip, etc. If you have to make a mild effort to keep your body upright, that is all right. Comfortable does not mean lazy and too relaxed. It means firm without pain, which you can sustain for some time. Sthira Sukham Asanam. Feel the body. Feel the control over the posture. When you feel the conscious control over your posture as you sit straight, and simultaneously relax the muscles in your face, the shoulders, hands, relax the abdominal muscles, relax your toes while maintaining the steady posture. And feel the control you have over the body. Every time there is an urge to move a part of the body, you become aware of the urge, let go. Just listen to that urge, but do not allow your body to move. Become aware of the urge to move, recognize it, and wait for the urge to pass while you hold on to the steady, relaxed posture. Every time you have a subconscious reaction to anything coming up in your mind, it is usually accompanied with a tendency to tighten or make an effort in some part of the body, you recognize that and let go of the tendency and wait for it to subside. This way, we cultivate the attitude of observation, listening while remaining steady in the resolve, the will to remain steady and relaxed. You have a goal to keep the body steady and to keep the muscles relaxed. All the parts that are not involved in keeping the body straight are relaxed. Just a mild effort in the hip, maybe, if you are sitting without support, and to keep the head straight. Just that mild effort to keep the body upright. Other than that, there is no effort in the body. The rhythm of the breathing comes into the field of attention, even without you trying to focus, simply by remaining committed to the posture. For 5 minutes, or the time we have decided to sit, we enjoy this commitment to sit straight with all the muscles and joints relaxed. Nothing else, just this simple sitting with a clear resolve. The goal is here and now. The result is here and now, completely in this present moment. All the past is not relevant. There is no goal in the future. Your aim is here and now. Keep this posture. Every time a thought comes, it comes along with a certain personal reaction to it, wanting to participate and encourage that thought, the urge to encourage it, or the urge to discourage it, to suppress it, or to avoid it. Just recognize it while you are committed to sitting steady and comfortable. While you sustain this moment, this commitment to the posture in this moment. Sustaining this quality of the posture, this alone is important. There is no other goal for you right now. Remember this method. You might listen to this again and try it. Once you understand the approach, do not use this guided meditation. Try to do it by yourself without the audio. In your free time, a small take a small break from things. Find a quiet place and sit like this. 10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes. 5 minutes is okay. Then 10 minutes. Keep a clock. Then 15 minutes. Increase 5 minutes every 1 or 2 days and bring it to 20 to 30 minutes. If you can do only this consistently every day, a couple of times, you will see that you will be able to resolve most of the conflicts in the mind that are disturbing you from pursuing your goals. You will experience wonderful clarity and a kind of stability that is not disturbed by the opposing experiences of life, pleasant, unpleasant, happy, not so happy, free, bound, clean, unclean, success, failure, clarity, confusion, knowing, not knowing. Such pairs of opposites will not affect you if you stay committed for this period of time, say 20 to 30 minutes, 2 times every day. अथ द्वन्द्वान् अनभिघातः. Thus, the person is not affected by the pairs of opposites. The practice of meditative asana. That's what we learned now. Such a simple thing. From here, after mastering, one can practice pranayama and all the antarmukha sadhanas, inner practice. Oh. We go to the discussion now. Slowly ease yourself. Open your eyes and let us get to the discussion. Take a deep breath. Feel the room around you. Feel your gadget. In the last class, we talked about the importance of not making a bad khichdi of science and spirituality, and the relevance for that in cultivating a healthy, good pramana buddhi. This is what we discussed. And that is relevant to the topic that we are going to discuss today, which follows from the question that was posted in the last class. But before we go to the question, I would like to give a small extension on the discussion that we did last class, science and spirituality. Yesterday we had this famous blood moon, the lunar eclipse. So spiritually, we say, the Shastras say, these are all to be done, these are all not to be done during eclipse. And a little extension of that, they say one has to, the birth, those born in certain stars are supposed to do some prayaschitta, and they to chant a shloka, or they write that shloka on a palm leaf and wear it like an amulet in the hand. Like this, there are various things, but fundamentally, the period of eclipse is considered an auspicious period which can be capitalized to increase one's own personal spiritual merit in terms of mantra shakti and in terms of punya through dhanam, etc. Dhanam means charity. So certain things, if done, are told to give us multifold benefit than when being done in normal time. So there is some kind of a vibrational situation which enhances which amplifies the positive things, and it also amplifies probably the negative things. That is why they say certain things to be avoided: food, sleep. So whatever is making us helpless with respect to nature, prakriti, are generally the are generally the common factor in all the things that are to be avoided. So one is told to remain conscious, not sleep, avoid sleep. Sleep is natural. Hunger, food is natural. You are told to avoid sleep, avoid food. And you are told to remain conscious and to work on your purushartha, dharma, dharma purushartha, in terms of chanting mantras, swadhyaya, etc. And also dhanam, tapas. Dhanam and tapas. Yajnam, dhanam, tapas. No? So that is what is recommended to be done during the eclipse. And all the nature, body, prakriti driven urges are to be mastered, and one is expected not to be driven by them, not to go under their influence. So it's a time for self mastery and commitment to purushartha, right? Now, you are also told not to go out and look at the eclipse, to take a shower before the eclipse and after the eclipse. Now, all these things, I have not read anywhere, but how are you going to justify these things scientifically? This is beyond the scope of science. People try to say, oh, the gravitational waves and this and the vibrations from the moon. But then you will see scientists telling there is absolutely nothing wrong in looking at the a blood moon. These are all superstitions. You please go and enjoy. There is no scientific evidence that looking at the uh, eclipse moon is going to affect you, or only directly looking at the solar eclipse sun can affect the eyes. So please look at the eclipsed sun only through a certain lens, they say. That much they have evidence. But more than that, for all the finer points that are recommended to us through Shastra, there is zero scientific evidence, because it is not under the domain of science. It has something to do with the domain of consciousness. It has something to do with the domain of prana and the gunas, which is outside the scope of scientific investigation. So it is done with Shraddha. I hope some of you used the eclipse time to uh, create more spiritual merit for yourself, your individual, and in your life, to reinforce your sadhana, to charge your mantras, etc. Now, this is done purely on Shraddha. So, since we had that discussion, and following that, we had this situation of eclipse. The last discussion we had on this topic of not doing Khichdi of science and spirituality is very relevant for this occasion of eclipse as an example. So, like this, we have various domains in life where this Shraddha helps. That is where the question that we are going to deal with today becomes relevant. The question goes something like this. It is asking about uh, how we deal with the strong unconscious drivers that shape behavior and choices, even if you want to do it differently. So that is the key point. Okay, you want to do something in a certain way, but your deep seated choices and unconscious drive formed from childhood, either traumatic or otherwise not so traumatic, strong experiences, vivid influences, inspirations, etc. Right? They drive us towards superimposing our personal bias. All those things that are formed from childhood. We say, hardwired. This a growing child, for example, if it grows in a household where the parents are constantly fighting, it is supposed to influence major decisions of the child in their life. For example, at the same time, children growing up in a house where the parents are very loving to each other, they are supposed to have a different attitude towards life, and they make a different kind of choices, etc. So we have behaviors and choices that are strongly driven by subconscious memories, drives, and inclinations formed in childhood. Correct. This limits our freedom, makes us take decisions that will make our life harder, and even can connect us with toxic relationships and substances. For example, in psychoanalysis, by talking freely the flux of thoughts, we bring subconscious into the conscious, and this helps us to understand our psychological mechanisms. It's called talk therapy. How Vedanta and yoga help us to transform these tendencies that bind us. Yeah. So that's what we're going to deal with now. So here we mentioned in the last class that it is about samskara and vasana. Okay. So here there are two things. In the first part of the question, there are two factors mentioned: unconscious drives or subconscious drives, urges, and a conscious choice of how you want to do. A conflict between something that you want to do, which is different from the force inside you that tells you to do it in some other way, that forces you to do it in some other way. It's a very famous, I have discussed this concept before. In Mahabharata, there is a character called Duryodhana. He says, I know what is dharma, but I am not able to do it. I know what is adharma, but I am not able to stop myself from doing it. There seems to be a strong somebody else inside, strong force inside, some other entity inside that is pushing me to do things in a certain way, and I am not able to overcome it. So, this is a classic example of a person whose birth is a result of a lot of bad karma from past. We say punyatma, papatma. So everybody is a mixture of both punya and papa. Punya means the result of the good karmas done in the past life, and the result of bad karmas done in the past life that give us certain situations that are outside our control, like the kind of parents we get, the society in which we are born. Imagine you are born in some monotheistic cult, in some very fanatic society. The chance of you ending up with Vedanta, and even after ending up with Vedanta and yoga, to be able to imbibe the knowledge and to make yourself free enough socially and culturally and psychologically in order to be able to follow what you have listened. It's a very big if. But instead, if you're born in a culture that is committed to knowledge and wisdom and freedom, and uh, that encourages you to question and do self development and not become some kind of a donkey for a all powerful jealous god up there in heaven. So when you grow up in a spiritual culture that doesn't have all this problem, so that's a great blessing. So that is not under your control, where you take birth and what kind of genetic makeup we get from our ancestors, etc. It is not under our control. So all these, for example, they are major factors and they are the result of past karma. And also, the situations which shape our childhood are also the result of past karma. It comes under prarabdha karma. So all these are there, and there is no other way than to accept them as they are. There is no point blaming the system, blaming somebody else, you know, and blaming oneself for the bad karma. All this is useless because it is not tuned to our purushartha. We only recognize this. Recognition is already great. We say there is something else inside me that is driving, and consciously I very clearly understand what is correct, what is the right way to go about, but somehow my system doesn't agree. The system doesn't agree happens in so many levels, right? And this is what the entire yoga sadhana is for, to learn to handle this and to move in the direction of right knowledge, is what in the direction pointed to us by the correct understanding in line with valid knowledge, which is called pramana. Pramana is what we discussed in the last class, correct? So common sense, both common sense ethics and spiritual ethics, and common principles, common sense life principles, logic and spiritual logic, the principles given to us by the Shastra. So based on that, we have a clear direction given by the virtue of right knowledge. Now, we see how my system is disagreeing. We are able to see that. Sometimes we see the reason. Sometimes we are able to be aware why I am not okay with doing what I understand is the right thing to do. I am not comfortable doing it. Why? I understand. I clearly see what is blocking me. But sometimes I don't see what is blocking me. I only feel that I am blocked and I don't know. I don't feel like doing it. That's all. Now, here is where deliberate, conscious commitment, ignoring the personal sense of comfort is required. So, the Shastra, our yogas, the yoga way is it gives you, every time there is a yogic practice that is given, there are three categories: Mrudu, Madhyama, Manda, Uttama, Madhyama, Adhama. That is the best, the medium, and the worst. Excellent, mediocre, and poor quality. Like that, there are levels in which the ability of a person is categorized, and based on that, the various recommendations are given. Even you go in Tantra, you have Divya, Veera, Pashu. So this Adhikari Bheda is there. Adhikari Bheda means the aptitude of a person, of the sadhaka, of the student to pursue a yogic practice, to pursue a spiritual practice, a dharmic practice, a discipline. To pursue a discipline, how what how qualified is this person? What aptitude the person has? He or she comes under what category? So that is the job of the teacher, to understand Mridu, Madhyama, Manda, what category this person is. Now, the same person may be very good in some aspects and may find viparita bhavana or contradictory tendencies in some other things. Like you said, the childhood experiences, the childhood experiences influencing the behavior, memories, drives, inclinations, all these make you feel in a certain way. That's what we say, I don't like it, I like it. I feel like it, I don't feel like it. I strongly feel like it. I absolutely, I just can't do it. It's too difficult. I'm not able to overcome. I'm completely stuck. I'm not, I know I am, it's totally cringe for me. All that they say, right? These days. Now, while psychoanalysis may be very good and useful, it brings your subconscious drives. It makes you recognize what's going on behind this. See, the very fact that you went for psychoanalysis shows that you have recognized the importance of your conscious pursuit and the importance of resolving this inner block that is preventing you from going ahead with your conscious pursuit. You have recognized the need to resolve this conflict. That is exactly why that individual goes for psychoanalysis, right? So the talk therapy. Now, if you don't have a conscious goal, if you don't have a conscious understanding, you only feel confused, but you have no direction. That is also there these days. The person feel completely confused, no direction. I don't know what to do. Now, the therapist does not give a recommendation. The therapist only makes them conscious of their various choices and lets the individual choose. And sometimes they never arrive at it. It is only feel good. They feel an inner discomfort. After talking, the inner discomfort becomes okay, but they don't have any specific goals. So that is why a lot of psychologists, I have a few friends who are into therapy and all that. I've discussed with them. So a lot of them have come out with various other new age, the new age therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and all that, where they are and coaching, they combine with all these things, and where they give a direction to commit, where they facilitate a person to pick up a direction for conscious positive action and to change it. It is not enough to become aware of it. If you can, I rewire it, neuro linguistic programming. So like that, rewiring your unconscious, like that, the approach has evolved over time. But if you look at this look at it from the perspective of the Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic way of yoga and Vedanta, how we deal with it. First of all, this is not the subject of Vedanta. This comes under the subject of karma and upasana. So the department that deals with all the unconscious, subconscious junk, the mind junk, is dealt with by karma and upasana, not by Vedanta. After I clear my mind, then only I come to Vedanta. Of course, in Vedanta, there is a upasana khandam, where in Vedanta, the upasana kanda, they will tell you the chapter with dealing with upasanas, they will give you various practices of concentration and all that, vidyas and all that. And they will help you to overcome certain very deep-seated conclusions. They will challenge certain conclusions regarding the idea of the self. So the topic is the nature of the self, the truth about the self, the truth about the cause of all things, etc. So that's the topic. But for that, one has to be prepared before. Now, after the required preparation of the acquiring the fourfold qualifications, inquiry into Brahman. That is how Vedanta teaching begins. So this topic is the domain of yoga, tantra, dharma, karma. Karma in the sense spiritual, positive spiritual action. So tapasya, upasana, all that is the domain. Now let us see how we go about it. Here we have an example of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita talks about Arjuna's confusion and despondency. If you read the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one example of this has come. He is completely overcome by the personal bias that blocks his decision making regarding what is right and what is wrong. He understands the confusion, but not immediately. He first gives his argument. First, Arjuna presents his argument as an individual who is completely hijacked by the personal preference. Now, this is an example of how our decision-making faculty can be totally hijacked by the personal bias that is created. And the bias through the lens of the personal I, mine, and the personal bias that is created, through the lens of the personal bias, we seek to satisfy the demand created by the personal bias to arrive at a comfort zone. So when I am driven by personal bias, it is a consequence of ignorance and conditioning. In other words, the technical term for this is tamas. Tamas, the quality of tamas has overcome the buddhi, the decision making faculty. When tamas overcomes the buddhi, the judgment becomes clouded. That is exactly what Arjuna does in the first chapter when he presents all his fantastic arguments. You can go ahead. I cannot do justice to that just in this. We need a series of discourses only for that. It's a very beautiful presentation. You can go and read it. Read the Bhagavad Gita. Any Bhagavad Gita other than the ISKCON Bhagavad Gita. So the first chapter, just read it. Don't read elaborate commentaries. A simple, decent translation, Gita Press translation would do. You can read that. There is a website called Gita Super Site. You can go there. There are a lot of PDFs available. Or pick up one. If you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita with you, great. Any Bhagavad Gita other than the Hare Krishna ISKCON Bhagavad Gita is fine. So you take take that and try to avoid Western translations, translations by American authors, British authors, French authors. Avoid those Bhagavad Gitas. Any traditional proper translation which is done by somebody, by a proper scholar, either a monk who was a scholar, who is also a scholar, or an academic scholar, but with the traditional background. That kind of translation is good. So you pick up and just read the first chapter. It's amazing. From this perspective of today's discussion, when you read, it will make a lot of sense. So his intellect, the decision-making faculty, is completely hijacked by his personal preferences. He presents it as though he is against war. His argument is that he is against war. That is how he presents it. But what he actually wants is not war. What is his actual problem is that he does not want to challenge this discomfort of having to fight grandfather, uncles, teachers, and all the brothers, cousin brothers. He has a problem. They are mine, I am theirs. These people are my people. Why should I kill my people? Why should I fight my people? But as a Kshatriya, as a warrior, a person committed to the warrior way of life, born in the clan of warriors, his scripturally assigned duty, smarta karma, is a Shankara Bhashyam. Shankara Bhashyam says smarta karma means the smritis, manusmriti, etc., the Dharma Shastras have given him a duty, telling the right thing to do for Arjuna according to Dharma Shastras is to protect Dharma, to destroy those people who are obstructing Dharma and to re-establish Dharma in the land. That is his job. So when you do that, you don't see who is the person who is committed to adharma. Anybody who is supporting adharma, like they show in Indian movies, a son becomes a police officer and then he has to arrest his own father because he's corrupt. And then it's like a very sentimental scene. In one Shivaji Ganeshan movie, it comes. Even your own father, once I wear the uniform in front of me, I will not see whether he's father, son, or wife, or mother. I will not see anything. I will see only what is right. I will see only the law. Like that one famous dialogue comes. So like that, Arjuna is supposed to take care of all these guys who are against Dharma. His job is to protect Dharma, not to see who is the person committing adharma. That is why the in the courtroom, that goddess or whatever is that idols representing the spirit of law, that goddess of law, she's wearing the black ribbon around her eyes. She doesn't see who is there. She sees only the pros and cons evidences and makes the judgment without personal bias. That is supposed to be the spirit of it. Anyway, now that has come to become a meme kind of a thing where we say the law is blind in the wrong sense. Just so, enlightened, dharmically committed warrior king is supposed to be committed to establishing dharma by destroying adharma. That is his job. But that got clouded and got hijacked, and he gives irrelevant dharmic comments there. He says, what will happen to the society if so many people will be dead? What is the point of, enjoy? What is the point of even winning this war? I cannot enjoy all the things that we get after winning the war. How can I live and enjoy the victory of the war? You are not here to enjoy the victory of the war. You are here to win the war against adharma and establish dharma for the people, not for yourself. If you enjoy, fine. If you feel sad, you feel sad. You deal with your sorrow, but you have to establish dharma. But it got hijacked. He gives all kinds of arguments, and I will leave you to read the first chapter. Further than this, with this, I will stop here. And then Lord Krishna, Bhagavan Vacha, when once he gives, in the second chapter, it starts, he gives a shake up. He gives a good jolt to Arjuna. Kutastva kashmalamidam. From where come this small-mindedness got you? In this grave situation, in this most, crucial juncture, in this crucial moment of war, where you are supposed to be committed to your calling, what has made you succumb to this kind of a small mindedness? You talk as though you are a very wise man, but your argument is full of faults. And then he gives him a little jolt and then makes him aware of his own error. Now that could be, now this is the approach of our traditional teaching, where there is an absolute standard given to us as what is right. The basic principle about what is right is very clear. Both Arjuna and the teacher here, in the form of Lord Krishna, both of them are committed to the same understanding of dharma, only that one person's judgment is not hijacked, it's very clear. The other person's judgment is hijacked. So the person whose judgment is not hijacked, whose intellect is clear, wakes up the mind of Arjuna to his own error. Wakes up the mind. The confused mind is woken up to its own error. So when the mind recognizes its own error, then he sees, he feels very confused and totally out of direction. Then he says, I don't know what is right and what is wrong. I will surrender to you. You be my teacher and guide me. And then he puts his, then he says, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tam Prapan. I take refuge in you. Please take me as your disciple and guide me towards. He did not say, see, now comes the most important word that points to the approach of yoga and Vedanta here. Arjuna did not say, tell me what is the right thing to do now in terms of action. He asked, tell me what is the best for me. What is Shreyas for me? Show me what is Shreyas. Shreyas means what is the ultimate good. Show me the way that will lead me to the ultimate good. That is that is his prayer to Lord Krishna. Show me the way to the ultimate good. And then the teaching begins, and that is exactly why the Lord comes to yoga and Vedanta. The whole teaching starts with Vedanta, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? So until the beginning of the teaching will be up to the 11th shloka of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You can read the first chapter and half of, on to 11th or 12th or 13th shloka of the second chapter. You will get an idea of the context in the light of the discussion that we did today, right? So when we are dealing with personal bias and all that, we have to understand there are two things happening in our head. One is the aspect of the chitta, this background noise that is preventing me from something I consider differently in a conscious level, which is called buddhi, right? Buddhi is where I am operating my known faculties of knowledge, and I know what is the right thing to do, but I feel a difficulty inside. Now, this is case one. In case two, I am not very clear what to do, but I know that I feel like, my the inside of me, all my inner baggage is pushing me in a certain direction, and this direction doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel healthy. Something is wrong about it, but I don't know what is right. So these are the two cases that we see. I know what is right, but I'm not able to handle my inner pressure. In another direction, I feel totally pressurized and drawn towards a direction, but something doesn't feel right, but I am not able to stop myself. So these are the two aspects in which we generally experience these days, especially given the all the dharma that is around us. So here, this context of teach me what is the ultimate good. Now that becomes very relevant in our correct approach to handling this situation. When we are handling childhood trauma and all that, in yoga and Vedanta will help us by giving us the perspective of what is ultimate good. Purushartha Nishchaya. What is the most worthy thing to strive for? So that clarity is facilitated by Vedanta. What is the most important thing worthy of striving for? Most important and the worthy thing striving for, what is that? Which is complete freedom from shoka and moha, the cycle of suffering and sorrow, and the slavery to delusion and ignorance, and which is basically what we call as moksha, the spiritual liberation, emancipation, enlightenment. So that is what is the understanding of that as a goal, and the importance of that as a goal, and how it is different from all the other thing, little small things that I am looking for, I am interested in, that take away my attention, all the small little targets that eat away my resources. When compared to that, where this stands as a, so that a direction, the direction in which the Shastra steers us, even the ritualistic portion of the Veda, even though it might recommend to me a lot of rituals which are binding in nature, it is binding in such a way that it does not take me away from the possibility of awakening to the higher purpose. The difference between lack of spiritual knowledge and using only common sense, that versus using common sense along with spiritual information and spiritual guidance. The difference is that the spiritual guidance, which is based on the Vedic tradition, even though it may point to certain rituals and actions that are considered as binding in the higher level of teaching, when you come to Vedanta, it says the ritualistic life can only take you so far, all your religious life can take you only so far, and all that. But that comes when we are dealing with a higher goal, when the person is ready. But in order to make the person ready, it promises you all the heavens and all the kinds of spiritual benefits and all kinds of things. It even gives you rituals to destroy enemies. If you go to Veda, there are rituals that talk about how to destroy enemies. Abhichara prayogam, it is called. Starting from that, to make it, getting money, getting children, getting married, and how to enchant your partner so that the partner falls in love with you. All this kind of it's amazing. You have the variety of things. There are prayers and chanting that is meant to to influence the climate, to to make sure that if there is too much of rains, it'll make excessive rains, may all the excessive rain go and fall in the forest areas and in the ocean, and not bother the people who are living in the towns and cities. So to make life comfortable in so many ways, negotiating with the subtle forces that control the nature and climate. Like that, we have a plethora of ritualistic recommendations and chants and what I would call as Vedic magic. So we have magic, and then the logic that will help us to interpret the methods of magic. So I call it magic because it's easy to understand, right? So we have all the Harry Potter stuff, and then we have Vedanta. So the ritualistic religion is basically does two jobs. One, it does magic. Another, it also embeds within that. It says the if you want the Veda to work for you, you will have to lead a certain lifestyle. It puts a check. You can't do whatever you want. You will have to live like this, live like this. You can do this, you cannot do that. You will have to chant Gayatri Mantra, you have to do Sandhya Vandana, you have to maintain a certain quality of life. And if you maintain this much quality of life, quality level A, quality level B, quality level C. If you are A quality, you are allowed to do these things. If you are B quality, these things are allowed, but those things are not allowed. If you are C quality, only this is allowed, the other things are not allowed. Like that, we have different categories. Again, adhikari bheda. So with all that, what happens? The tradition guides the individual according to their guna and karma, according to the baggage that their karmic baggage they carry. and according to the qualities of the mind and body and the tendencies, the nature of the ego, etc., it gives a certain recommendation that minimizes childhood trauma. First of all, it strikes at the source. The tradition starts with samskara called Garbhadanam. Right at the time of conception, there are mantras that protect the womb, and you are supposed to attract the right kind of soul and this kind of things. Starting from there up to death, there are mantra accompanied procedures that take care of, that takes care of keeping away the negative, astrally negative influences, and creating a beneficial vibration field and all that. And so that the whole process is a completely integrated life when it comes to that. But unfortunately we don't have that. It is only a nice talk in discourses. We can talk about it. We can you know make a big sigh, oh it was so beautiful. Not there anymore. So it's not there anymore, except in a very few pockets. So that is not relevant for the whole world. But what is relevant is whatever practices are there consistently across the entire spectrum of the religious life, a few things are always emphasized: sense control, shraddha, and commitment, being committed to act according to your shraddha. Develop shraddha towards the tradition and the teacher and the system and the guidance, and this whole guidance infrastructure that we have, the traditional infrastructure, the teaching context that we have shraddha, and then make it a priority, make it the top priority to live according to the spiritual teaching, whether you like it or not, whether it is comfortable or not. Sometimes it's comfortable, sometimes it's not comfortable. We cannot pick and choose. Treat it like a medicine. Okay, treat it like medicine for the disease called samsara. So for all these unconscious traumas and all that we are talking about, shraddha towards the teacher and the tradition, the recommendations of the Vedic tradition and your teacher, the words of the teacher that guide you in a certain direction, and being committed to applying oneself in that direction and practicing sense control. These three things are there continuously. When we do that diligently, without a break, at all times, at all contexts, and all situations, when you give more importance to the teaching than you give importance to your ego and to your own conclusions. So in two ways we handle. The lifestyle takes care of the mental noise. We talked about two dimensions, right? The problem of chitta and the problem in buddhi. The problem in chitta is taken care by the spiritual practices. Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, take care of it. It keeps refining the background. And regarding the conscious conclusions that we have, that we are very sure of, the errors in that are taken care by Shraddha. Oh, I, I, I feel so sure this is what is right. I really think this is what it is. But my teacher is telling something else. The Shastra is telling something else. I can argue with my teacher. It's not that I blindly follow my teacher. I can ask my teacher, why are you telling this? My level of understanding, I have come to this conclusion. But you are telling me something else. Why are you telling this? How did you come to this conclusion? Then the teacher will tell you, it is because of this, and this reason. This is my judgment. This is what the Shastra says. So based on this framework, I have given you this recommendation. Sometimes the teacher will not tell this all the time. Sometimes he will say, I am just telling do. At that time, you have to just do, and he'll say, I will tell you when the time is right. Now you do. Sometimes teachers tell that. So what we have to do, we have to give the benefit of doubt to the teacher. We have to give the benefit of doubt to the teaching. So with the Shraddha, we overcome the limitations created by our own wrong conclusions. We don't know where to go, but we just know that we are not okay wherever we are. But we don't know where to go. In that way, you can, in that situation, you listen to the teaching. I think I know where what to do and where to go, but somehow it is contradictory to what the tradition and the teacher says. Then give the benefit of doubt to the teacher and the tradition and do what they say, but not what you think is right. And then while doing it, to handle the background noise, we have various practices at various levels. Handling the background noise at various levels, how to deal with that, we will discuss in the next class in a more detailed way. But I have given the basic framework for dealing with this thing. And the recommended reading for this context is the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita and up to the 13th or 14th shloka of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Uh, just read it. Just read a decent traditional translation. That is not Hare Krishna and that is not by a Western author. Then um, note down the points if you have any questions and all that. And further study can be done through a proper Bhagavad Gita class and courses. A lot of them are available online. Even School of Ancient Wisdom has a Bhagavad Gita course. But I will recommend going through the Shankara Bhashyam. But we can see about it. The basics regarding Dharma decision making, Shraddha is all common across all the commentaries. So with that, so go through that and see how it is. If you have any questions, you can bring it to the class and we can discuss it, take it up. Right? So with that, I will conclude the session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tatsate. Thank you.